Well, hi there.
Hi, Karen.
What are we doing?
We're in our shelter in place chic attire, and we're chatting the way that we run our office now
Bye.
by teams.
Yeah. So I try to do this from my kitchen where I've set up part of my office. And despite our best efforts to bump up the Wi Fi signal in Queen Anne, Seattle, which should be, right, the techno hub of the world, and yet we have horrible Wi Fi. So despite our best efforts, it was crap. So uh, Rachel secretly let me into the downstairs abandoned floor of our office, which is actually I'm currently in our moot court conference room, which is a big area that has movable chairs and tables, and we use it to do focus groups and other presentations like that.
It's a big room. You're probably feel like you're sitting in a gymnasium by yourself right now.
Well, I do have company who is Nala, who's quite irritated that I pulled her out of her cozy chair. So if you
Oh,
hear some grumpiness, that's Nala. Hopefully she'll be quiet,
yeah. She's outside the luxury of your home now.
I guess. And plus, we're at the office, so she thinks that Anne's going to come and rescue her, which that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Have you explained COVID to your four-legged kid
She doesn't know
enough?
what's going on, but she's very
Yeah.
happy. She has 24/7 attention. Anyway,
Yeah.
so let's go back in time. And what happened here was that we've all kind of been watching what unfolded in China, and we saw that it was coming to Seattle, and Seattle saw it really faster than anyone else because we had a nursing home that got infected, Life Care Center of Kirkland, and suddenly we went from watching it unfold to being an epicenter in the United States of America. Um, our office, we have two of them, is not a remote office by nature. We are in the office. I mean, if we're not doing depositions and trials and stuff like that, our staff is always in the office. We're in the office. There's two of them, and we like the synergy, the creativity, being able to bounce into people's offices, bang on the wall. Brad's on the other side. We just kind of run around the office with our dogs, frankly,
It's true.
and uh, at the same time, we have been a progressive office. I think I've talked about this a little bit before that um, lawyers are techno averse in general. I still know lawyers that don't know how to email, different generation, but things move slowly in law compared to the rest of society. And but we are very fortunate to have an IT person. So what happened next was that Brad and I and our IT persons, we immediately started having a lot of meetings, but we had an infrastructure that was already in place that had been ramping up each year. We never would just say, "Oh gosh, we're here. We are. We're stable. We're set. We're good." We were always, "What do we need to do next? What do we need to do next?" Because of course, in technology, everything is only as good as it was until the next thing comes along that you have to get ready for. So we last year through our IT person who's Ryan Monahan he builds our computers. So he builds our components and puts our computers together, and he did a whole refresh because the last time we did that was 6 years ago, I think. So we had been replacing the computers. We got our phone system was fried, so we got a new computer phone system to supplement our existing. And so we had this infrastructure in place. We also moved to Office 365, but we were in the process of getting some of these little pieces set up. And yet, on I believe it was March 3rd, King County Executive said, "We strongly encourage our employers to consider increasing the ability of people to telecommute," which my daughters tell me is a very old fashioned term. The day that King County asked us to consider the possibility of, we just shut down our physical offices and went to full on remote. And we did it for the safety of our staff, our employees, our clients, and the world. We really believe that we shouldn't be above whatever the other people are asking just because we are lawyers. Everyone is having to make sacrifices, and we were not. We were going to just do everything, not only by the book, but over the book. And we started that process on March 4th. Whatever the day was that they made their announcement, the next day we started implementing it. We had a skeleton crew for the first week, but even then we were making provisions for what if a total shutdown is to occur. And so one by one, each of the skeleton crews started being sent off home and setting up their own remotes. This was a little bit more difficult. All the attorneys could work remotely, but not all our staff could. So we had to enable everyone to do that. But here we are now, March 25th. So 20 days, 21 days later, no, 20, I'm such a good counter.
21.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
21, 3 weeks later. This is our third week now of being a remote law firm. And I thought that we could share some of our thoughts and strategies with other people that have struggled also to make this change, and also to reassure our clients and to warn the defendants that other than the fact that we're working from our hospitals, our homes, it's business as usual for this particular law firm. So, yeah.
It is. And I mean, there's really nothing that we can't do. We've been continuing business as usual. We probably see more of Hoquiam now than we have because we're doing regular meetings, video meetings with people. But this is, it's not the same as being in the same room with a client, talking with somebody in person, but it's the next best thing. And fortunately, you and Brad are our managing partners are millennials at heart, I think, and have been ramping up this tech for a long time. And yeah, we're doing all the same things that we were doing. Sometimes I might have a baby strapped to me for a 15-minute interval, but other than that, pretty much everything else is the same. And we're going to be reaching out to our clients on a regular basis. Everybody has stressors on them right now for different reasons, and sometimes many reasons. And you guys have been doing a tremendous job of checking in with people, kind of seeing them where they are, and including Nala, who has her own stressors right now. And so yeah, I mean, we're doing all the same business that we've been doing. And we've been getting messages from mediators saying we're doing remote mediations. We're preparing focus groups and doing focus groups. We're doing all the things that we customarily do. It's just a little bit more remote.
I thought we could just take people through some of the steps of what we as an office have been facing, and use that as kind of a launching off place for some of our typical discussions. For example, you mentioned having a baby strapped to you, which of course we were all screenshotting that. But Ray, who is apparently so serious all the time, his kids came in, his daughter with her unicorn and his son, little Henry, and it just brought me way back in time to when I used to have my kids with me when I went to work. And you guys have more traditional households where you keep one parent at the house and then the other parent goes to work. But as a single parent, primarily, I was pretty integrated.
Yeah.
And I think you and I talked about, hey, it may seem initially inconvenient that your children are bugging you when you're trying to focus, but there's some real silver linings in that.
There are. I mean, I think one thing for our, inside our office is, in some ways, it's more intimate to be in this remote setting where you're in somebody's bedroom for, when they're talking. I mean, really, this is a spare bedroom / office, but like you're in somebody's home and you see the cat, rolling around over their head on the couch, or you see somebody have their kid run in with a unicorn, and just sides of people that you would never see in an actual office setting, even though we're very casual as far as allowing dogs, and it's not like we're all stuck up like that in our office, but you don't have occasion to see somebody's kids that often. So that's kind of cool. But it is, I mean, it is a balancing act. There's no question about that. But I mean, honestly, for those of us in Seattle, excuse me, I don't have COVID.
Ah,
For those of us in Seattle, the time saved on the commute from a normal traffic day is more than enough to make up for the distraction. From my in terms of my arrangement anyway. And my kids are pretty understanding for right now. Now, 6 weeks from now, I don't know. We'll see. But so far, so good.
the way that we looked at it was the first week was kind of cool. I wasn't even here. I was in New York, and so no one even knew I wasn't here because we were all remote, and people enjoyed not having the commute. But by the second week, people were starting to miss each other, and you start to feel really kind of homebound. Like your world becomes smaller when you telecommute. It just does. And I know that after this social experiment out of necessity is gone, that all of us are going through, or most of us are going through, that there will be people saying, see, we could do this all by telecommuting. But there's so much that's lost when you
It's
do
true.
that on a long-term basis. The social interaction that we all take for granted and sometimes resent, like so and so is always popping into my office, I would wish that wouldn't happen. That's what makes the world beautiful and our lives full. And for us to be, to not have that going on right now,
Yeah.
uh, it's going to start to wear on us. So we're not going to convert to a remote office, but having the option of occasionally remoting in is great. And for now, we are fully remote, and we'll talk about that. Um, I thought maybe it would be helpful if you could just tell people how we started to use Teams and what it is and why we like it so much.
So, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Um, we use Teams, which is a Microsoft 365 Office 365 application. And it's mainly for all kinds of live communication. So it has a chat function, group chat function. It has a planner, like scheduler, to-do lists with assignments that you can put in. And it has video calls and phone calls and file storage, and it's all in one place. And so we use it, as you pointed out. I mean, we don't have the sort of casual, walking through the hallway conversation. Everything has to kind of be intentional as far as any kind of communications we have within the office. But we can use Teams to set up all those communications, and it makes it kind of seamless to be able to share files and presentations around the office. What's Nala doing?
She's being a bad girl. I might have to
Yeah.
go put her in her little timeout room if she doesn't stop. And you're pausing a little bit. So this isn't potentially a perfect recording. We won't know until we're done, but you're missing some words I've noticed,
Oh, okay.
like
We'll
right
see.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, well, we're using Teams primarily for inner office work. We had done it quite a bit and we have it on cases. We can add co-counsel, for example, to our teams. But when we're not using Teams in the office, we're using probably going to move to Zoom for out of office um, communications and things like that. Uh, but there are other issues that we've had to deal with. For example, the courts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the courts.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So, as old as I am, I have never seen the courts shut down, let alone for a an extended amount of time. And in particular, I've never seen them shut down anything related to criminal.
And
So we are
explain
in
why that. Can you
uncharted territory.
can you explain for people who don't know why that's so important
Well,
and
right.
monumental?
So you have the right to the speedy jury trial. I think most of us learned that in civics. You have a right to speedy jury trial. So even without a problem like this, just in our regular daily lives of dealing with courts, a lot of our civil cases end up having some issues because we have to get behind the criminal lineup. Criminal gets to take precedence because there's a constitutional right involved.
Because people are in
Well,
prison.
yes, their liberty is imperiled. So here, when the courts made the decision to really effectively shut down with some limited exceptions, because they can't completely close their doors, at least they haven't decided to do that yet. They said no jury trials, no trials, no hearings in person, and primarily in the Western districts, at least, no even business at all. That's not a hearing. The federal courts are a little bit different. The federal courts have said no trials, no hearings, but they're still ruling on motions, which are basically procedural requests without oral argument, meaning if we're not arguing it, and in federal court, you really don't get to argue hardly anything. They can just rule from wherever they are. And so that hasn't changed. But most of what we do is in state courts. Some of what we do is in federal courts. And it's been shocking. I think that's the first thing I would want to say is it's absolutely shocking. We are currently under a stay home order from Governor Inslee that, in my opinion, came about 3 weeks too late. But in fact, we've been staying home for that long, but it should have been declared a long time ago. Not being well enforced at all. If you believe the pictures from all the parks with all that are filled to the brim with people in them. But that order allows essential businesses, and the courts are open, although the courts themselves have chosen to close mostly, and businesses that impact legal rights, mandated legal protection, such as our office. Technically, we probably could come into work and we probably could not be remoting in. And I'm sure that there are a lot of offices that are not remoting in because they don't know how to do so. However, we believe that we have a social responsibility to do what's best for all involved and set a tone. But this whole court thing, maybe you can give a story about how it's affected one of our cases where, yeah, and we can go into that in more detail, but just one little example of why we're so concerned about it.
Well, so in one case, what you do when you file a motion, it's a written document that you electronically file, and it's set for a hearing date. And usually there's no actual appearance in court like you see on TV where people are arguing about the motion. It's just the judge reads the materials from both sides and makes a ruling. And we had one where the hearing date was, I think, the day of or the day after the courts closed. And instead of getting a ruling on it, which we had been waiting on for some time, we got we're putting all motions on hold until April 24th reminder. Even though we had filed it before this order was put in place, this emergency Superior Court order. So we're going to have to wait, another month, more than another month, or I guess now it is about a month, to get any kind of decision on something that we had been waiting on for weeks, or at least needed for weeks. So yeah, I mean, it has a ripple effect through the entire system, and any cases that are filed, especially, and even those some unfiled, are going to be impacted by it.
We're going to do another episode on how this is going to impact our cases and what we need to do. But the concept that we're looking at is we're partisan, okay, in our practice of law. There are plaintiff lawyers, the good guys, and there are the defense lawyers, the bad guys. And the defense lawyers have a strategy which has been around forever, and it's called deny, defend, and delay. The 3Ds, and that's how you are a good defense lawyer. And I say this because I was a defense lawyer. I know this. You want to slow it down, you want to deny everything, and then defend the heck out of it. Well, they've just been gifted the ability to slow everything down, and they're going to take full advantage of it. So that's going to be a second episode that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so we don't have all the answers in our law firm, but it's really interesting. Even though we've been doing this now going on 3 weeks, I feel like our morale is pretty good. I really do.
It is, and that's thanks to you guys. I mean, really, it is hard to check in on everybody, and given the number of things that people could be concerned about right now, whether it's their own health, not being able to see their parents or other loved ones, being cooped up with somebody like a roommate they may not, get along with, or see eye to eye on, things like that. There's just so many things that um, people feel stressed about, and everybody could use a therapy dog like Nala.
Who's
But
the worst therapy dog other than she's so freaking crazy cute?
yeah, well, that's what therapy dogs are for. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on right now, and I think everybody who has employees. I mean, we've got more than 30 people in the law firm in 2 different offices, and you got to check on your people and ask them not just how they're doing like work wise, but like how are you doing? Yeah, she agrees with me. Nala
Nala,
agrees.
she just doesn't want to. She just doesn't want to be here. She wants to be back in her cozy land at the house. And
She
she wishes she could be a lap dog also, but she's too big. She just
Yeah,
doesn't fit. Now she's all covered up in my cords. Hopefully she won't destroy anything. Okay,
I know.
Nala. Okay, get comfortable on my lap that you don't fit on. Okay, she's kind of comfortable for a
Yeah.
moment. Well, um, let's end this session just by talking about morale and just the human aspect of this. So, first of all, people do watch the news too much, and people that are at home, some of the people have said, like, well, occasionally I'll turn it off. I'm like, okay, first of all, I never even have mine on. I remember talking to one of our expert psychologists once, who's an expert in PTSD, and he told me he doesn't watch the news because because um, it's too anxiety producing. And he would rather have a calmer life. He's got enough to stress in it, having to do what he does for a living, which is to calm other people down who have terrible amounts of stress.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it is good to check in on people. Other people, make all these assumptions like, oh, this person is a young person, they're not worried. Well, they have parents, they have neighbors, they have loved ones that they can't talk to anymore in person with. They can't hug, they can't reach out. We want touch. We want to hug. We want to be in contact. We are social beings. If by now people haven't realized that, I don't know what to say. And some of our staff just were really sad. Going to work was believe it or not, I mean, that's what they like to do, is to go to work during the day. It gives you structure. It gets you out of the house. You get to see your friends,
Right.
be with people. So I think that for anybody that manages a law firm, you really need to talk to everybody. You need to get on the phone, not just text them, and then make sure that people are connecting with each other, which I think this firm does. There's a lot of friendships in the firm, and different people are always talking to other people and helping, especially with the technology. Some people are really good with technology. Some people need some more help with technology. I mean, we have 60-year-old staff members who are in their, later 60s, because no one ever leaves this firm.
Yeah.
um, so it's just a reminder to honestly to be there caring and loving one another
Mhm.
when we're really in this terrible place.
It's true. Yeah, and um, I think I can't say enough about face-to-face interaction too. I think it's a big help to people, that you care enough to actually arrange than a wet dog nose in your face, Karen. No, but you care enough to actually arrange a face-to-face meeting with somebody and really see them. I mean, that's not just something we say. Really seeing somebody is important. It tells you so much, and I think people feel more understood and more checked on if you actually see them.
Yeah,
So I can't say enough about this video conference.
technology.
Oh yeah.
Well, um, I think this is a good kind of overview of what our firm is doing to stay fit and healthy during this time of remote work. And
Fit, I don't know about fit. I'm doing pull-ups on my kids' playground equipment. That's
uh-oh.
all I got.
Well, we'll wish everyone a good day.
All right.
Over and out.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.